In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about a topic that kept me stuck in my active addiction, in my bad behaviors, and in my negative self image and mindset for so long. Once I just switched my perspective, my life changed immensely, but we only know what we know, right? So I'm so excited today to be talking about this, and hopefully the things I say can help you get unstuck from this cycle of thinking I'm bad, bad things deserve to keep happening to me, just being stuck in a habitual way of thinking. Let's get messy. Welcome, my beautiful friends. I'm Natalie, and I'm here to share with you how I've turned my messes into messages and come out the other side. I'm not a doctor, so if you feel you need one, please get one. But if you're looking for a friend who's been there, like and subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Before we start, I'm going to open it up with a question. I have a question here from one of our viewers. HS writes, I've been clean over 6 years. I know it keeps me clean, but what is it for you that keeps you going? What keeps you open and willing when life happens? That's a great question, HS. Thank you so much. So, what keeps me open and willing when life happens? My friend, I've had to create a life that I want to show up for. I used to despise my existence. I hated who I was as a human being. I hated the concept of what I was being told life was about. I didn't want to be part of it. So I didn't want to show up for life, right? So the substances, the drugs, the partying, the numbing out, it all just made it easier to not live in a world I didn't want to show up in. I didn't want to be here. I was backstabbed by a lot of people that I knew in my life. Like, what was the point, right? But today, I want to show up for my life. I've learned that when people hate on you, they just hate themselves. So I give these haters love. I give bullies love. I know that it's not a reflection of me. It's just them, and they don't know how to ask for help. So all they do is rip people apart. I also find joy in helping others. And I've centered my life around that today. As long as I'm giving love and getting love, I want to be alive. As long as I'm living in the truth, honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, those 3 words have saved my life. And be careful who you trust. A lot of times I would get disappointed because people would lie to me or make false promises. A lot of abusive relationships, which we're about to get into. But today I pick and choose. I have a very small circle, and I like it that way. I live in this bubble, and I love it. I don't watch the news because that just fills me with more fear and anxiety. I do things that bring joy to me, and I literally will structure my day around what I want to do. Not the things I feel I have to do. I've built a life where I do what I need to do, but it's literally the things I love and like to do, if that makes sense. I used to do things I felt I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to tell this person what they want to hear, I have to work this job because this is what society tells me I have to do. No, F that. No, today I do what I want to do, because when I go to bed at night, I don't go to bed with society, I go to sleep with myself. And for me in my recovery, it's best to do what brings me joy and gratitude and love. So my friend, I encourage you to focus on what brings you joy and gratitude. And guys, build a life you want to live, you want to show up for. It doesn't happen overnight, but one decision after the next, making gratitude lists, making goal lists, these will help. This will help rationalize how you can get to the life that you want. So I hope that helped. Guys, I love it. Keep the questions coming. I love it. Now I'm going to bring you into part of my life and how it changed. But let's start with the bad first, and then we'll end with the good. So I developed this mindset of bad things happen to good people, or bad things happen to bad people, actually. Bad things happen to bad people. I must be bad. And I literally believed this. I believed I was a bad person. All the abuse, all the traumas that happened to me early in my life, I believe I deserve them. Because why would the universe bless my bullies and continue to put hardships in my life and in my path? Why would this happen? I didn't get it. But I was just a kid. So I also had bad role models, you know? Without getting into too much detail, I had an abusive household. And this abuse led me to believe that I was bad and I deserved this bad. So I would seek out men that reinforced this belief system. And I would date one verbally abusive man after the next, then an emotionally abusive man, and a physically abusive man, verbally abusive. I mean, I went down the whole list of every type of abuse I could endure from a man. But see, at first they were really kind and nice and loving. But a lot of people can pretend they're one thing and then be another thing. Oh my gosh, can they do that? Oh, wow. That needs to be another episode. People can just put on masks. That's why it's so important to build a life that you want to show up for and have that joy and gratitude in yourself. Bring it to yourself, then you won't need to seek it from outside sources. People, addictions, and bad behaviors can all be ways to channel negative energy to ourselves. And before we know it, we're stuck in this cycle of negativity, when all we had to do was switch one thing in our mindset and everything could have vanished. But changing beliefs and behaviors and habitual ways of thinking is difficult. It doesn't happen overnight, but nothing does, right? You just got to put one step in front of the other and it'll come out into play. So as I got older, I would be in these bad relationships. I'd be bullied by women. I turned my life off from people. And the drugs became the only friend that I had, the only thing I felt was there for me that didn't lie to me, that protected me. It was such a delusional way of thinking, but this was what I needed or thought I needed to live. I started realizing, though, that this belief system wasn't working for me. And I needed to develop a new one. And that was a blessing of recovery because I started, like my life depended on it. I started researching the mind, the body, healing, spirituality, life. What is life about? And I've learned that bad things don't happen to bad people. Bad things can happen to good people. What I learned too is the traumas I went through built me. The hardships built me. It created this resilience in me, this never give up mentality that a lot of my peers didn't have. You know, if jobs needed to be done by a deadline, I'd make sure they did. I would do everything and anything I had to do to get done what needed to be done. Almost like survival mode. You ever seen that show Survivor, where they're just running the race, doing what they have to do to survive and get through the mission? Like our life is our mission. And finding peace, joy, and gratitude is our mission. God has blessed me through my traumas. He really has. And it was all just my perspective on how I looked at trauma and suffering and pain. I used to think it wasn't a blessing, but now I see it is. There's beauty in the suffering. There's growth in the suffering. You can't feel peace without pain. And also, I've learned that haters hate themselves. The men that were abusive, the girls that would turn against me and bully me, they just hate themselves. And it's crazy to think about that. But when people are hating on you, they just don't like who they are. And they see something in you, my friends. They see something in you that they want, but they are too lazy or don't think they could ever attain it. So it's easier to just hate on you and then justify in their minds why you suck instead of just looking in the mirror. Everything is a mirror. What you put out there is your energy. What you see in others, you own in yourself. We all project our own realities onto each other every day. We do. And when people are being hateful and hurtful towards you, they're just hurting. Pray for them. And if you don't pray, just give them love in your head. Just say to yourself when they come at you, oh, universe, be with this person. Give them love and joy. Make them learn that you are God. They are not. And that's a big thing, too. Everybody thinks they're the higher power. I don't think everybody made the world. This really has changed my life, like switching my mindset and realizing that my God loves me, and that's why he put painful situations in front of me to walk through, and that I'm not walking through it alone. He's with me. And whatever your beliefs are, it doesn't have to be in God, Jesus, universe, whatever, Allah. There's just surrendering to a power greater than you. And when you do that, you realize that suffering can work through you, and there's strength and resilience that comes through suffering. There's a rainbow after it rains, and rainbows are beautiful, right? They're beautiful, but that wouldn't happen without the rainstorm first. So it's being able to develop this mentality of not almost being bratty. I was very bratty. I didn't want to be pain. No, don't give me pain. Don't give me hardships. Don't give me bad experiences. But like, why not? Like, what's wrong with some suffering? Why do we run away from it? We can grow from it. I have literally grown from my suffering and my pain. If I didn't fall as low as I fell in my last relapse, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you. I wouldn't have had the strength to finally do what it took to change. And I'm not talking about physical strength, mental strength, emotional strength. My closing story for today. Not too long ago, about a year ago, the last boyfriend I had tried to take my life. As you guys know, I've talked about it in other episodes. He held me against a window, tried to strangle me and suffocate me, but I got away. So the interesting is when I met this gentleman, he had nothing. He was broke, homeless, I later found out, and he had problems with his feet. And this back then used to attract me to people, like, oh, I can fix him, I can help him, I can be of service to him. But his feet were awful and his health condition was terrible. So fast forward, I think it was like 4 or 5 months we were together, and then he tried to attempt to murder me. I came home, I did a lot of self-work. Here we are a year plus months later. But the last conversation I had with him, shortly after I got back to Florida from Las Vegas, after leaving him, we had a phone conversation, and he said, you're in a better position than I am when we met. He sent me a picture of his feet, and they were even worse than they were when I met him. And he's like, don't you think it's funny that I'm in a worse position and you're in a better position? Because I got back to working. I started thriving financially again and with my content, and I started thriving with my self-love for myself and my spiritual practices. And he was even worse. So my question to you is, do bad things happen to good people? Do bad things happen to bad people? We could look at the situation that happened to me in Las Vegas with this guy trying to take my life as a horrible, traumatic event. But I thrived from it. And I continue to. I had never been through a domestic violence situation like that before. And I came out on top. Didn't happen right away. But eventually it did. And every time I ignore this person, and when I would ignore this person, after their attempt to try to get me back again and again and again, I was like, no. Every time I wouldn't pick up that phone, every time I'd put this toxic person on block, a blessing would come my way. And they continue to. Switch your perspective, my friends. Bad things don't happen to bad people. Bad things happen to good people. Bad things happen to all people. Grow from the suffering. I love you guys, and I believe in you.